Hey everyone, it's Stacey Nelson from AmazingMess.com. One of the things that I wasn't really planning to do was talk a lot about homeschooling, but those are the questions that I'm getting the most of. So I am going to talk about it. And if you have anything else that you want me to talk about, that would be great as well. I will be doing some more developmental activity kind of videos in the future. But someone asked, so why did you start homeschooling? And I originally wrote a post about that, and I will link to that post in the notes below. But when I look back on it now, some of that has changed for us, and some of it I don't really feel like putting on video because I think it's pretty controversial. Just telling people why you homeschool can sometimes actually be really controversial because homeschooling has become a lot more accepted even over the past 15 years, but it still can get people upset. And I don't like getting people upset. Anyway, I'm going to talk about why we originally homeschooled. So I can tell you that I never in a million years imagined myself homeschooling. I never would have guessed or believed that I was going to be a homeschool mom, ever. I was actually against homeschooling. I was a teacher and I taught, and the kids that I knew that homeschooled, I didn't know very many. There was one family I knew and they were like all awesome, but then the other families that I knew, I just felt were very awkward. But honestly, there's awkward people in public school. I'm one of them. There's awkward people everywhere. So that's just kind of how it is. You can find them in homeschooling. You can find them in public school. You can find them in private school. You can find them wherever you go. But here's what happened that made me consider homeschooling. I was 5 months pregnant with my first daughter, and my dad died. So he was given 6 months to live. He had a diagnosis of cancer, was given 6 months to live. He ended up only living 3 months. And that experience changed my life forever. I went through a depression. I went through a lot of wrestling with my faith. And when I came out kind of on the other side, one of the things that I realized the most is that life is short. Now, I knew that. Everyone talks about that. But up until that point, I had not personally experienced that. I had lost some family members, some aunts and uncles and cousins and other people, grandparents in my life, but none that I lived with every day and that I was super close to and so influenced by until I lost my dad. It left a huge, huge hole in my life. And it was at that point that I realized life is short and I want to have all the time that I can have with my kids. And really, that is the main reason that I started homeschooling. I started to see some other benefits as well, but that is the main reason. Because life is short. I don't know if they're going to be around tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be around tomorrow or even in the next hour. We do not know. And so the time that I have that I'm able to spend with them and make memories with them and share with them what we believe about life and what we believe about the importance of life, that trumps academic achievement for me. I still want my kids to learn. I'm not saying that. I still believe that academics is important. But overall, I want them to build character and faith, and that's what's important to me. So that's why we originally started homeschooling. That's our very top reason. There are some other reasons. Like our children are a gift. I don't want to just turn my kids over to people that I don't know. I don't know their values. I don't know what they believe. I don't know what they're going to teach my kids. I didn't want to just turn them over when they were that young to people that I didn't know for 7 hours a day. 7 hours a day is a long time for your kids to be influenced by someone else. And I mean, sure, teachers are vetted, but there is a worldview, there is a philosophy that they hold, and maybe it's like yours, but maybe it's not. And maybe they can teach some of the things that you want to be taught to your children, but a lot of times they can't. Even people that hold my worldview as a Christian cannot necessarily share that worldview if they're teaching in a public school. So that was important to me because my children are a gift. And I believe that I need to be the main influence in their lives, especially when they're young. I mean, there is a natural progression where your kids are going to find other mentors and stuff as they get older and they move towards adolescence and being a young adult. And I think that is very natural. And, I want to find good mentors for my children. But especially when they're young, I think a lot of the influence should come from you as their parent. The other big thing was that homeschooling pushed us into relationship. And I don't want you to take that the wrong way, like I don't like my kids or anything like that, because that's not true. But sometimes you have kids that you sort of butt heads with, and that's just part of being a parent because some personalities don't go together quite as well as other personalities. And you have to learn to find peace in that relationship, even in the midst of maybe personality clashes and things that are difficult. And so my oldest daughter, I asked her if I could share this, but we really butted heads. I mean, we just did while she was homeschooling. But I am really grateful that during those foundational years, because she was homeschooled until she was middle of her 6th grade year. So I'm really glad that those foundational years, we really stuck it out and pushed through some of that so we could build our relationship and learn to live in peace, even with the differences that we have in our personalities. So that's another thing, is that it just kind of, it makes you work on your relationship. When you're with someone for 24/7, you have to figure out how to live together in peace, or, I mean, your life is going to be very, very difficult. And so it's learning those relationship skills and sort of meshing that out. But it also, for me as a homeschool mom, it really helped refine my character as well. And I had to learn to do a lot of relying on the Lord and on prayer. And that's what I had to do. So let me see. I wanted to talk about a couple of other things. Let's see. One of those where I might get in trouble is that I also kind of think that schools aren't a good fit for everybody. But I kind of think that schools are recognizing this as well, because there's so many different options now. There's blended learning options, which is, some in-class kind of stuff, and then self-paced stuff on the computer. So I think that technology is really changing schools, and I think that schools are realizing that we can't just teach everyone in a cookie cutter way. So when you homeschool, you can teach to your child's strengths and weaknesses. You see what they're good at. You see what they're not good at. You have ways, because you're one-on-one with them, that a teacher will never have the ability to do in a class of 1 to 20. But there's a lot of other things, going on in schools as well. And we know about those things. And I think that's a reason why homeschooling has really taken off, is because it's not just necessarily about faith things anymore, but it's also about the academics. It's about the bullying. It's about the peer dependency. It's about the lack of creativity. There's all kinds of reasons that parents are choosing to homeschool nowadays. And so I just didn't feel like schools were the best fit for my kids when they were younger and they needed to be more active, and they didn't really need to be in school that long to learn the basic things that they needed to know. All right, and then my last thing is that we teach as we live. So when you're working one-on-one with your child, you can accomplish things in a very abbreviated amount of time. I don't have to spend time waiting to move on to the next thing because I'm waiting for, 20 other kids to finish up. We just move on to what we want to go on to. I don't have to deal with discipline problems, not as many anyway, right? Our on-task time, we can accomplish more in just a few hours than they can in a whole day. So that's why I love homeschooling, because it frees up your time. So you can spend the afternoons pursuing whatever it is that matters most to you. If you want to do art classes, or you want to do service projects, or you want to do whatever community activities, or maybe your family comes in and you want to see them, you can stop and see them. You can catch up on your schoolwork later, so that's one of the really big benefits for us, is that we were able to just live as we taught. So I realized that homeschooling is not an option for everyone, and my girls have been involved in all different kinds of things at this point, of private school and homeschooling, and I've taught in a public school. So I hold no judgment about one way or the other. I think that you have to figure out what is best for each child and what is best for your family. The blessings far outweighed the hardships, and I would not change anything about those first, 7 years that my oldest daughter was at home. And I'm really thankful that we did have that time together. And I'm looking forward to going back to homeschooling my youngest daughter. So anyway, next time I will talk to you about why we quit homeschooling and what I learned from that. And I would love if you would hit that subscribe button and then the bell right next to it, because that will let you be notified anytime I have something new out. Thanks for following me. You guys are awesome. And I hope that I wasn't too long-winded. And I really hope I didn't offend anyone with this. I'm sure that I probably will. And if you disagree with me, give me some comments below and let me know what you're thinking. I'd love to converse with you about that. So until next time, we will see you later.